cover liberation just have vastly different understandings of what liberation is for.
I haven't seen this much importance and attention.
The story itself is a really wonderful, really great setup.
Tractor beam has been engaged.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Tractor Beam Comics Reviews on the Star Wars Underworld podcast network. Haven't done that in a while. Today is Wednesday, August 14th, 2024. It is the 32nd week of comics in 2024. Rolling right along. I guess in 20 weeks will be the end of the year. There we go. So we're past the midway point there. This is the Tractor Beam Comics Reviews here on the Underworld Network, etc. I said that already. My name is Matthew. That is Chris. Chris, how are you doing this week?
Oh, very busy, man. Very busy. I mean, last week I tried to ease my way back into things, and I ended up doing 3 podcasts in 1 week, almost 3 days back to back. But and then just today I've had made at the time of this video 3 videos in one day. I had a podcast. And I actually had to work today. So it's like, oh my gosh, my productivity has been insane ever since getting back from San Diego.
It's like it's your day job almost. It's not, but that's fair. But,
I wish it was. If I could get paid doing this, by all means, support me at youtube.com/StarRaptor. I would love to do it full time.
There we go. We know some people. Don't we know some people? Anyway. I won't put them under the bus for names. Speaking of which, as you mentioned, youtube.com/StarRaptor is where you can get Chris's synopses, all of the comics, but also Outer Rim transmissions and everything you're up to. Lots of great D23 coverage. I don't think I linked that in the comments this week. I think I did last week. Yeah, like your SoCal vlog, that was fun to watch. So check that out. Also, of course, at the Iron Cannon podcast, Mondays, 5:30 p.m. Pacific, 8:30 p.m. Eastern. Last 2 weeks, I believe Joel has talked about, he's carried the flag, talking about Tales of the Jedi. I think he's doing another installment of that. The Legends comic, Tales of the Jedi. I think he's doing another installment of that. I think I forgot to ask him, but check that out right here on the Star Wars Underworld YouTube channel. Then I guess, and when's Outer Rim transmissions going up next?
We're doing Sunday, this upcoming Sunday. Then we'll probably have to do a pre-recorded episode the following week. But I got other plans for maybe guesting on another person's show. I'm not going to name names in case it doesn't fall through. In case it falls through, because there's always that chance. But stay tuned on the social channels for me, and I'll tell you guys what's happening the following weekend.
Yes, and another great segue. Speaking of social channels, you can follow Chris at StarRaptor, StarRapter. Of course, follow everything over here in the books, paper canon, more, I guess, kind of the intellectual discussion thing that Joel and I do. All that at Iron Cannon Pod, EYEONCANONPOD. Quick plug now, and then I'll say more later on. I'm going to quickly change the thing at Iron Cannon Pod to Iron Cannon Pod soon to Fan Expo Canada. I'm going to be there all 4 days. Yeah, it's been another fun
4 days.
Yeah, so I mean, the Thursday is a little shorter, but I'll be there. I'm so
hyped that Victor Lucas and Rod Ferguson, big gaming talent, is going to be over there.
Yeah, it's going to be.
Oh man, I'm jealous. I would love to go just to see those two, man. Let everything else happen.
I don't know what I guess guns. So I'll take your word for that one. There are other big guns there. Again, I'll mention that at the end and maybe a little more next week. Kind of doing my bigger Fan Expo preview next week, but this week. So first of all, before we dive into that, last but not least, the Discord server. The link in the description below. Join there. We can chat all about Star Wars, all about Star Trek, all about Marvel, all about D23. There's even now a Bad Batch. Not a Bad Batch. There's a Bad Batch channel. It's true. You can chat if you look Bad Batch. Someone did recently, I think, but there's a Skeleton Crew channel in there as well. Just if you don't want spoilers for Skeleton Crew, you can just mute that channel. If you do want to chat spoilers in there and speculation, all that, go for it. We're gonna do a little bit of Bad Batch talk. Bad Batch. I'm so used to Skeleton Crew talk. Wow, it's funny how I'm conflating the two. I don't know why. I don't know.
Ah.
That makes no sense to me, but it makes a bit of sense. Anyway, Skeleton Crew talk later on, but yeah, you can chat about that. Also, ask Joel what his favorite board game is. Nobody's ever taken me up on the homework. Someone needs to do that. Maybe I'll have to take myself up on that homework. It's just in the general chat, just as a way of getting people in there and engaging. I don't know if that's gonna work, but anyways, I tried. There we go. Anyways, we got 2 comic books each. One's a manga, one's
Kind of, yeah.
talking about on the docket today. So let's dive right into them. First up, we've got Darth Vader, penultimate, number 49.
Yep, penultimate.
Also, Chris, your mic is kind of fuzzing and just letting you know.
Oh no,
so.
because I literally did nothing to it, so hopefully it's okay.
Hopefully it's on my, I don't know, it might be on my end. We'll see. Hopefully I can actually hear what you're saying. Anyway, written by Greg Pak, art by Raphael. It could be my end. Maybe.
Hello, testing.
Let me try one thing. I'll do this. I'll throw it to you. Yeah, we'll figure it. Written by Greg. So yeah, Darth Vader number 49. Written by Greg Pak, art by Raphael, colors by Federico Blee, cover by Lionel Francis Yu and Romulo Fajardo Jr. Imperial schism nears its thrilling climax. Luke Skywalker faces the full might of the schism Imperial. Sly Moore makes the biggest choice of her life. The MAR Corps gains the upper hand. Darth Vader finally confronts the consequences of his ruthless quest for unlimited power while I figure out my audio issues. Chris, I'll throw it to you. What did you think of this issue?
Oh, I thought this was awesome. This was epic. That's the first word that came to mind because we're really seeing everything come to a head as any penultimate issue or episode of anything should. It is meaning to bring back things that we've been having in the background, coming to the forefront, and just seeing it all come to a nice, satisfying culmination. And I couldn't be more ready for issue number 50 because there's so much that is riding so many pivotal moments. And I mean, we know what happens with Vader and Luke, like they show up in the next movie, but still it's like all these side characters that we don't know the fates of Sly Moore. We don't know the fates of Pride, I guess, exactly. Although we know he shows up on Endor, I guess, because of the one anthology book and all that sort of thing. But as far as
he's in The Rise of Skywalker.
Yeah, true. But as far as like the contents of this,
sure.
I really liked how we seen the stuff with the Marcor, how we've seen that there are rebels and they get turned, and we see this like these great character moments, great character beats for Darth Vader. Thinking about Luke, with Luke saving an Imperial, which we've seen before in Battlefront 2's campaign with Del Mico on Pilio. So really good defining character moments, but like a lot of really cool comic booky moments, like when Tantaza's like firing this beam and it's taking too much life force. Now Sly Moore's got to jump in, and we're getting to know like this agenda that Sly Moore has had was just for her to basically be jockeyed into position to be the second hand of the Emperor. She put all these people's lives in the Emperor and the Empire at risk to create this little sub-faction just to meet her own ends. I mean, this issue is called Rule of Two, which I thought was such an evocative thing when I opened up the page. Seeing that, I'm like, oh my gosh, like you're going to get a good story when you get that header in the beginning of Rule of Two. That was cool. So, as for my opening salvo, I'll let you go ahead.
Yeah, and also the audio is fixed. Is my end pretty sure?
Goodness, I'm freaking out. Like I just spent $100. But not. This is an expensive mic. I don't have to replace it if I don't have to. But
good to know this. Like tech issues. We'll talk about that later. Again, talking about this comic doing precisely what it needed to do, which is set the table for Return of the Jedi, and this one did it. I want to say more than anything we've gotten so far. It's all culminated in this. Obviously, it's going to culminate in the next issue, in issue number 50. But it frames it. You mentioned the Rule of Two. It frames this issue in this comic as a whole. Has framed the events of Return of the Jedi from the Sith perspective. Is this whole 20-year Palpatine Vader, Sidious Vader thing going to be reconfigured? What are the jockeying? What are the tests that Vader has to do in order to prove himself worthy of maybe being the Sith Master, or of remaining as the apprentice, or maybe bringing on Luke, or yes, in comes Sly Moore to going all the way back to especially to War of the Bounty Hunters, where
Oh,
she
yeah.
first makes her play against Vader, and then here with the Schism Imperial. This one, I mean, there is kind of a bit of a moment. I'm trying to recall the moment of, like, why not Sly and Luke teaming up? I don't think that ends up working out, but all these different things being reconfigured as a way of telling the deeper character story going on with Vader. And what is so spectacular about this issue is that it's a circumstance in which Vader has to save Luke. Vader goes in and saves Luke. Now, obviously, on the surface, it's because he wants to turn him and either bring him to Palpatine again. This is this kind of reconfiguring of the rule of two, or of that stability of a master and apprentice, or to overthrow Palpatine with Luke, or whatever. But I think we're meant to read into it a little bit to say this is still the snooze button, if you will, on Anakin. This is still the or at least the alarm clock, and then he hits the snooze. The first inkling, or I mean, with the crystal too. That was the vision of the crystal. But this one, literally, physically going in and saving Luke, and having to convince the Markor, convince the rebels. These rebels, you have to team up with me in order to save Luke. Now, what I'm going to do with him after is different. But again, we're supposed to read into this, I think, a foretelling, if you will. And of course, it's a prequel to Return of the Jedi, so it's a backtelling. But kind of this is a moment of awakening for Anakin, is what I'm getting at here. The reason I think that is all this stuff about Rule of Two and Sith masters and apprentices and the structures and systems they built around it. The reason Palpatine Palpatine keeps playing on is Anakin's fear, is Vader's fear, and there's fear of having like we hear in Revenge of the Sith, right? I want to have significance, life significance, and Anakin telling Padme, I want to be something more. And in Return of the Jedi, he's going to be confronted with this choice. He's going to be something more by continuing to preserve the stability of the Empire, or is it going to be something more by continuing to preserve the stability of the ability of his family line to serve the light side, to make good in the galaxy. And that is and that's what I mean. I named the title of this episode "The Only Name That Matters." And I mean, we can say there's all the different characters in Star Wars, but Skywalker, the only name that matters. And it's a bit of an older notion about the hero's journey, but it's definitely the one George Lucas played with. It's even the one JJ, with Rey picking the name. There's a reason she chooses that name at the end and becomes a Skywalker. It's a reason Obi-Wan and Ahsoka get really attached to that family. This is the Anakin's fear and hope coming out, even in this issue, a little bit as an inkling, a little tiny inkling in this weird situational form. But we know his plan in Return of the Jedi initially is to, of course, again, bring Luke before Palpatine in order maybe for them to overthrow or something, like he says on Bespin. But behind that, what if behind that there's a higher purpose, a higher calling? And this issue starts to play with that a little bit.
Yeah, I was very interested, or surprised rather would be the right word, Vader actually intervening with Luke. I really thought that they would be off limits until Return of the Jedi. Now, I guess maybe because they are at a distance, maybe we'll get to issue number 50, and then they won't actually meet face to face. Because I've always been under the assumption, I guess they did do it in A New Hope, or they did it in the Skywalker Strikes arc where Vader and Luke actually fight.
Yeah.
So it's not out of the precedent for them to meet, but still, I was like, wow, he actually got there in time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, he's Vader. So
it still looked like the blast hit him head on, though. Didn't it?
Vader or Luke?
The blast definitely hit Luke like straight up, but like Luke just gets right back up.
Yeah, I mean, like the Kyber weapon, you mean?
Yeah, I thought it would just vaporize him because it's like a lightsaber.
But that's where Vader saves him, right?
Oh,
So here, Vader, and then great job by Raphael Yanko and Fedor Kubli, by the way.
let me open up my issue here.
It's force bubble. And this is my panel, maybe panel of the run, just for the significance of this.
Oh, so that's what happened.
Yeah, he
created a force bubble to take on the impact.
Yeah.
Oh.
And
so you see,
yeah.
You see Vader. What is he on a ship? And he's doing this.
Yeah.
And then he's like doing a drive-by.
Right.
He's like flying by, putting up the bubble, and he flies off with the whoosh.
Yeah.
Okay.
But enough to prevent. Yeah. Just I want to almost get some art of that, or like a screenshot or something of that. And credit Raphael Yanko and Fedor Kubli, of course, but Raphael Yanko and Fedor.
Raphael.
Yeah, I mean the significance of that, right? That is, I mean, very clearly a precursor to picking up Uncle Palpatine, picking them off the thing.
Oh my goodness, I didn't even think about that.
Right? And that got me thinking, all the way back to Charles Soule 2017 issue number 1.
Yeah.
Of course, people lampoon this. People lampoon the George Lucas insertion in Return of the Jedi later, but that at the end of Revenge of the Sith, and that at the end of the Return of the Jedi, that of course is added in, but it's there. That's the film we have now. Right. The both of these comics, both Vader 2017 number 1, Vader 2020 number 49, really bringing the heart about it. Because again, remember, the no is in reference to Padme dying, and then the no in reference to him saving Luke and refusing to let Padme's son die. And so of course Sabe being there is a nice reminder. Oh yeah, you're Padme's son. That we got a great moment of that last issue. But really, again, it's a good point. You think this would be off limits for them to do that, but no.
It's a pretty big swing.
It is. Definitely successful swing, though. And
it's so cool. Just like you said, I don't know why I didn't think about, like, this is literally the precursor to Vader saving Luke again with the Emperor.
Yeah. So
great job by the creative team there, pulling in on all fronts there.
And again, great job for the story group to let them do it. Let them
good. Like, that's just like the War for the Bounty Hunters that took huge swings with this. I don't even remember the contraption name, but they're trying to like seal Vader and Emperor in there forever. Seems so long ago. When you look back now, we're really getting to the end next month. It's just a matter of weeks. We'll close the book on this whole era of Star Wars, and looking back this whole year, so much darn stuff has happened where it almost feels like it's like, that was 3 years ago. Oh wait, in our time it was 3 years ago. In their time it's still a year.
True. That's comic book for you. That's
oh man, when we get the next like encyclopedia for Star Wars, or the next Star Wars timelines, there's going to be like a whole freaking chapter dedicated to this era that they carved out.
Yeah, they should. If Have any last thoughts on Vader 49?
Nope. I'm very excited for the Star Wars counterpart to come out pretty soon.
Yep, that's next week. We'll get to that.
Oh, is it? Okay, cool.
All right, let's go back in time. It came in time. Wasn't sure about it. If it would, but Howard Hulk, Edge of Balance, Volume 3, written by Shima Shinya and Daniel Jose Older, and art by Mizuki Sakakibara. There we go. There's
Yeah, I think you got it. Nice.
I gotta get my Japanese. I'm going to Japan in April. We're all going to Japan. So
yeah, really.
Good timing for getting the manga in there. The destruction of Starlight Beacon also destroys the peace once protected by the great Jedi of the High Republic era. The year since Jedi Knight Lily Torah Asi defied the Council's order to return to Coruscant, the Nihil continued to storm the galaxy, advancing in from the Outer Rim and expanding their territory. Despite the encroaching storm wall, Lily stands her ground and reestablishes Banshee's Jedi Temple. Banshee is not to be abandoned. Its long-held secrets begin to unfurl as Jedi Master Arkoff returns to connect the pieces to a mystery long buried. I'll take this one first. I was really struck by. Well, first last night was all I'm gonna have to read the Wikipedia article to remember what happens next, and I didn't need to. It really did a great job of recapturing, reminding us of everything that happened, especially with Lily and with I forget his name, but her Padawan who died, and I think it was
Kieran.
Yeah, Kieran. And just the government, the younglings, the species youngling. Was it? I'm forgetting their names. I just read it this afternoon. But
one of them's Ruru.
Yeah,
but I don't think they're a youngling. I think they're just like a worker at the Jedi Temple. And then that's the Zabrak, and then you have I know what you mean. I already forgot their names.
I'm talking about the kids who are alive and come back, and how all these characters, especially Lily, the main character, it's clearly she's grown up and stepped forward. I mean that this one of the kind of questions about Edge of Balance was how well connected it was to the rest of the High Republic, because that's one of the things, frankly, that is important in High Republic is, yes, you got to have a standalone story. This initiative has to move the overall story along, and this one really does in a really significant way. Anything with Hazel and Raul is going to move the story along in a significant way, and reflecting on how the most significant thing that happened in Edge of Balance was in President, really, with Aslan as a Padawan, Aslan confronting the Nihil, or confronting the Nameless, rather. The closed fist at that point, but confronting the Nameless and seeing that move forward and seeing his story continue in his original medium. And it was fascinating how he's blind, but all he can see is the Nameless effect. When he looks at Arkoff, he looks all weird and snake-like and everything and terrifying. And so Aslan living with fear, no wonder he's succumbed to the dark side. It's almost like he's got his own little imaginary Vader mask on a little bit in the same way, in that he can't help it until I wonder if Arkoff is bringing him some healing here. And then my guy Reese coming in, I gotta shout my guy Reese.
Yeah, I know you'd be excited to see him.
And he complains like, we've just figured a key to the Nameless and the Blight and all that, and I gotta go to this planet to take care of and figure out what's happening with the Nameless and the Blight and the Drengir.
Yeah.
And so I thought that's one thing I think we both agree in with Edge of Balance is really, really fluid read, really quick read in a good way, engaging read. So I enjoyed it. Just again the way it really moves things forward. I do wonder if we're getting a bit of Nameless fatigue. I mean.
Oh yeah, for sure.
That every story climaxes with this confrontation between the Jedi and the Nameless. This, by the way, I should just as an aside, I am completely cut up on Haruho now, thankfully. Until
Yeah, how does it feel? How does it feel?
Feels good. Feels good to be able to talk about Temptation of the
Yes.
Force, because again, the climax to that one are Jedi trying to sort out their way through the Nameless, and here we have Jedi a little bit. The big
Okay.
thing, the exciting thing, is what happens with the drink. I find what happens with the drinker.
Seriously.
Yeah, honestly, interest in that. When they were.
Oh, real quick.
Yeah.
We're going to spoilers here. I know this book came out yesterday, so everybody, if you don't want to hear this, probably fast forward 10 minutes.
Well, I mean, we spoil everything anyway on here.
Yeah, but no, this is a manga. So comics
Yeah.
are one thing. You can finish a comic in 10 minutes. This is a longer form story. Like it took me 30 or 40 minutes to get through this. So just being aware, we're gonna probably get into some things here going forward. So
I should just put that off the top. Just we're always going to spoil everything. So the reason I find that interesting, I find that intriguing. I'll say that. I don't want to say exciting, but it was the feeling. But intriguing and fascinated is when the Return of the Drenger was teased in Kevin Scott's book. We were like, okay, what's happening here? And it turns out it was just a vision.
Yes,
the child of the path, or whatever it's called. But when they come back, of course, in Temptation of the Force.
Yes,
they come back in this Edge of Balance, very vulnerable, very on their heels. The Blight is seriously a threat to them too. And here's this first moment where the Jedi, Lily, I think it's Lily, says, "Can you fight with us?"
I couldn't believe that.
In your help, and it was this, really compelling turn, because we were all, I don't know about the Drengir coming back. What was the point of them in the first place? What are they doing? And I kind of hope that they planned this all along, that actually the Drengir were going to be this vulnerable species, because you got the kind of a global warming environmental point here. Even something that can be threatening can also be vulnerable, and it's threatening in part because it's vulnerable. The vulnerability can also be a way of an occasion to cooperate and to move forward. And so, it's the first time we see the Jedi fighting with the Drengir, and that was fascinating. Again, I want to just go back to everything with Aslan and him being a key forward. I wonder, his book, and so there's definitely going to be Edge of Balance Volume 4. But I think there is going to be another interlude as well, and so this is definitely part 1 of 2 in the story. Definitely didn't fully resolve the story. Lastly, interesting concept of a planet, a moon, that its rotation brings it on either side of the storm wall, and so the strategic significance of that was pretty neat to be explored there. But also, this creature's home. This force sensitive, I don't know, animal.
Zimtak.
I mean, probably a sentient being, but
I said this in my review. I was saying that this is, I think, the first occurrence of a non-sentient creature using the Force in a purposeful way.
Yeah,
we've never seen a bantha use the Force, or we've never seen a wampa use the Force. This is a big breakthrough for Star Wars. This is pretty neat.
Right. And Ember is a dog.
Mm-hmm.
So dogs and other animals, they can relate. So that was interesting. So I'm kind of worried for that guy. We're supposed to be worried for him. I enjoyed this book.
Okay.
It's always kind of different being black and white, but that's the tradition.
Yeah.
So the color is great, and at one moment it was kind of hard to tell what was happening with the action, but I guess if you're used to it, you're used to it. But we got this really brilliant cover. I'm assuming also by Sakakibara, but Mizuki Sakakibara. But I enjoyed it. Again for the contribution. For the character, Lily herself really stood out as again. And this is another thing, is in the long run of in High Republic, the whole thing really is I mean, again, this is all Star Wars, but we see all these younger characters move forward and step up and face the tragedy of Starlight Beacon, face the trial of the Jedi, namely the Nameless and the Nihil. And we'll see what Charles Soule's book means by that. But to see them step up and how communication and empathy as a source of leadership. So hopefully my guy Reith has his time in the sun too for that. But nice to see Lily, stand out again. A character I haven't quite remembered. Wouldn't say she's always the most memorable in previous iterations of this, but this one she was. And so well done there. So I enjoyed it. I'll throw this to you. What did you think of Edge of Balance Volume 3?
Yeah, it gets pretty deep in some places. Jumping off of Lily, I liked how in the first couple pages of the manga, we really get to see how she's dealing with grief.
Yeah,
I think it's important to note that because a lot of Star Wars characters have to go through that. And it's just the way of what happens when you're at war.
Yeah.
People pass away, sacrifices, all that horrible stuff. But it is happening, and how you deal with it is what defines you. And I think her just buckling down and just saying it happened, and her own way to acknowledge what happened with him was something I didn't expect to get out of this book. Dealing with loss and things of that nature, but it was well needed. And another big theme for me was going back to Aslan Rel, and you were mentioning about him looking at Arkoff and feeling the mistakes he has made 150 years in the past, and seeing his distorted, cruel, horrific version of that character, then finally living up to it by having this heroic moment where he's like, "No, Yoda, you go with the kids. I'm going to hold these Nameless back."
Yeah.
And that's the common thing that is going into the next couple books and all, is the fear of the Jedi. How do you overcome fear? So I like to see that literally, like the Nameless is like the personification of fear.
Yeah.
So we're seeing how the Jedi are able to be confident and just really just solidly going forward. And it was cool to really see that happening here. And it was great to see that acknowledgement. Again, we talked a little bit. I like the indigenous life forms that this book is continuing to put in there. Like you have these little bird creatures that, they're fun. They're fun, like little Star Warsy creatures. Like they're like something you would see from like The Last Jedi with the caretakers or something like that. Like they're just going around. They're not warriors per se, but they're helpful. They're helpful in a pinch, and they can distract people and different things like that. I got to give kudos to Daniel Jose Older and everybody involved, because for the first time, this book felt like it was really part of the High Republic. What I mean by that is, like, the other books kind of felt pretty solitary. There wasn't a lot of crossover. This one had so much crossover, like just going through the list of heroes and villains. I mean, getting Yoda in action, like the first time this entire phase in this manga, was not what I expected.
It's true.
Right? Like that was the first big moment of him. Pulling back, of course, Aslan Rel is heavily connected, but then seeing Reith Silas, I'm like, oh, this is cool. So I'm guessing this is probably happening before Tears of the Nameless, if I were to put it in. There's little tidbits. I was like, wow, Lucasfilm's really on the ball when it comes to the synergy and the planning, because literally last week we seen that Iriadu got taken over.
Yeah.
And then in this book, they literally just mentioned like, oh, Iriadu has just been taken over. So it's like, oh, cool. We're getting that phase right in here. Also, Bulan is alive. So obviously, like this is taking place before High Republic. But then we see Niv Drendau. And that was really fun, because like the last time we've seen him was in a High Republic Adventures book.
Right.
Getting to see Sav Maligan again. I know it's a Daniel Jose Older created character, but again, I didn't really look too much into this book. That was a pleasant surprise. We got to see her so much in phase 2. And to see her still kind of retain that kind of attitude from 150 years prior, and like being that fun little pirate Jedi that's sabotaging the Jedi or the Nile ships. But I don't think that they highlight this moment as much as Daniel should have. but she now has a path drive enabled ship. Do you know how many other characters have been trying to get one in this entire phase? Like, that's like a big focal point. It's like every character's like, we got to find a ship. We got, the damn thing self-destructed. Sorry, we can't get it now. Like, they actually have a ship. They can come and go as they please. I like the whole idea of the moon's gravitational pull, like literally slipping into the occlusion zone. So she gets on the moon and waits, has the communication droid beep out, and then it's like, oh, there they go. Because as soon as it crosses into the occlusion zone, you have the Nile ship sweeping in. Like, there's a lot of cool moments. I'm actually talking myself into giving it a better score because
there we go.
as I'm talking about it, I'm like, there was some really good stuff. And the reason why I drag it down, the only reason why I drag it down is it feels like it leaves on too big of a cliffhanger with not enough resolution. I kind of thought back and I said, what was the purpose of the story? Because we really just get left on this cliffhanger of like, oh, there they go out into space. Like, the other ones, I didn't get that feeling from as much. Like, there was like a little bit of a lead in, but by the end of it, those other ones, I was like, okay, cool. That's the story here. So that's where I was kind of scratching my head a little bit of like, all right, so what's the thesis statement? What happened in the end that changed things from the beginning?
Yeah. I mean, I think a lot of that has to do with it being so much more connected to the wider story.
Yeah.
And so, like this has implications for, maybe we'll see Sav in High Republic Adventures or in something else. Maybe we'll definitely see Wreath in something. We'll maybe see Aslan. We've heard Yoda. We'll see him somewhere. It's more open-ended on either side. In part, I mean, I think with Yoda and facing the Nameless, he's listened to Buri, from what I gather, right? And that's the thing with Temptation of the Force is Buri is actually able to be a Jedi who stands down the Nameless in the big climax with Avar and Elzar because he taps into his empathy and lets himself feel the fear. It's just that with Avar there, they're able to kind of diffuse it so that Elzar can then go and actually take the Nameless out. This similar sort of theme with Lily, then carrying this forward, Yoda says you have to face the fear. So, like you said, 1,000 facing the fear. Lily being able to stand and face her fear, but also, like yes, with Aslan and Arkoff talking about Lily, her empathy and communication, being able to be part of her leadership skills and qualities. I think skills, just quality as a Jedi, as a servant of the light. When those kind of weird undead wooden Drengir people, whatever we're calling them.
Yeah.
It was weird.
But still trying to wrap my head around what was happening there with that whole thing.
Drengir and as he kind of explains, a nice helpful recap in the actual story, exposition through story. That in volume 2, I guess it was, the Drengir killed them and turned them all into wood. All the people in the village, and so they're standing up. They kind of they're kind of zombified. Wooden zombies. Almost maybe Golem might be an interesting one. We've had Golem in Star Wars before in the Battlefront 2 novel. This is a weird cut, but Battlefront 2 novel, the Golem is a reanimated inanimate object, like a droid with a soul, if you will. So anyway, I kind of like that. But anyway, my point being, it's a terrifying creature. It's this unfamiliar and strange creature. And of course, the Drengir is a kind of unfamiliar, strange, terrifying creature. She calms herself and quiets and listens to the Force and does not sense any evil intent on their part, and does not sense any. Gives the Drengir a chance to say, we don't intend to attack you. We're vulnerable. They're even warning them. The undead wooden golem folks are warning the Jedi about the blight, because the blight is probably a banshee. is what's going on there, or the Dringer can sense it in other worlds or something. So, yeah, I mean, I agree it does end on this cliffhanger, but I mean, I'm looking at it for what it sets up. Maybe that's part of the drawback of High Republic is that these stories are never too self-contained, or conversely, it's like episodic television, right? This is or like the contemporary, I guess, serial TV, what a continual storytelling television. This one, seems to be more like that. So, I didn't mind it. I get what you're saying. I didn't mind it as much, but I do get what you're saying.
Yeah.
Fine times. All right. So Edge of Balance, volume 4. It does say, I don't know when that's coming out.
April, I think.
Yeah.
Everything is in April. Everything's going to converge on April. I think that's based by May. I think High Republic, as we noted, is going to be basically coming to an end.
I wonder what's happening in April. Why is that?
Oh, shoot, you're right. There's a big convention happening in Japan.
Yeah, I wonder if in the land of Shimashinya and Musiki Sakura.
Yeah, there you go.
There you go. Speaking of conventions, I know you've talked about them already, still the cows come home, but I haven't had a chance to chat about them on Facebook because I'm taking a break from Island Canon. So chat about them. Doesn't have to be too long, but we'll dive in a little bit. Thankfully, again, here's another thing: is why not just throw everything on YouTube. I don't understand. We're spoiled. Maybe we're spoiled from 2015. I don't know. Celebration 2015. But they did show some things. They give us some things. They give us the very suburban Skeleton Crew trailer. Skeleton Crew. Skeleton. Very suburban. They also gave us another Rebuild the Galaxy trailer. So Lego Marveling with Darth Nubs and Deadbeat Luke. Told us that K2 and Krennic are coming into Andor, and that makes
sense.
Gareth Zabarelius on the live action big screen.
Oh my gosh.
Finally, a new Smuggler's Run story. I think it's about time for that. And the last thing I'll say is this is up. This got up. I was convinced. And I don't understand. I frankly don't get. I mean, are they listening to the critics? Are they listening to the haters? Come on, it's got to. Acolyte season 2's got to.
Yeah, come on. I mean, you see the sign right behind you.
Yeah, that's what I'm
Acolyte.
Yeah.
It's like part of me, like, okay, they have all these announced things at San Diego Comic-Con with the tie-in novels. Now, is that a good thing or a bad thing? It's like either that's like, okay, we're not making season 2, so here's a bunch of books to kind of help you guys out for that, or they're trying to ramp it up even further, so here's a bunch of books to keep you engaged until season 2. I don't know what it's going to be.
I'll go through. Well, I guess we can keep going on that. Again, it's just frustrating, honestly, because it's clearly there's so much strength in this show. Yeah, it wasn't a perfect show. I mean, even I had some issues. I think we mentioned that episode 4, but episode 3 and the overall thrust of it. Episode 5,
episode 8.
Yeah, and then the ending and the way, again, similar to what we're talking with Edge of Balance, what this sets up for season 2. It's so gripping, compelling. It would be really disappointing. It'd be like them listening to all the haters of The Last Jedi and say, okay, we're just going to reverse things.
I know. That's what part gets me. I'm like, are they really listening to the toxic fan base about that? Like, come on, guys, be better. Like, and the idea that really frustrates me is, for instance, by the way, you're gonna be getting in this soon enough. But I mean, come on here. Yeah. I mean, you got a magazine cover with this guy on the front. And then guess what? You have a whole half the issue is basically about the Acolyte. And guess what's happening next time? More Acolyte.
There we go.
Obviously, Lucasfilm was expecting this to be a hit enough to put all the resources into making magazine articles. There's so many YouTube videos they've put out of shorts and regular videos of all things Acolyte. They brought all the stuff to San Diego Comic-Con. It was all Acolyte all the time. They brought, even Manny Jacinto over to D23 to do a whole hour panel. They're really putting a lot of money, and you're going to tell me after all this, it's just going to come to a fickle end? Like, really?
Yeah. It's like, again, I've drawn the parallel to Willow, but it'd be more than Willow. It'd be worse than Willow. Honestly, it's just so my frustration is all these things pointing to it. Just announce it at the big splash. Just make the big splash. I don't know what they're waiting for.
If it was seriously is 3 weeks from now, and they just announced on StarWars.com, I'll be relieved, but I'll also be disappointed. You had all these fan conventions you couldn't have just known 3 weeks prior, because that's how Lucasfilm promotion is anymore. It's just let's just put out an article on either our website or half the time it's another website, not even ours, and then we'll just announce it there.
How was Ahsoka season 2? It was like that. It was just the.
It was an undernote. They announced the Mandalorian and the Grogu movie, and they're like, "Oh, by the way, season 2 of Ahsoka." It was like a footnote.
Weird.
This is what I don't understand about Lucasfilm anymore these days. Their promotion is so wonky,
especially in the contrast to yet another brilliant classic Marvel Hall H, panel. Announcements, and all those trailers are all up on YouTube. Everything that Marvel showed in San Diego is on YouTube, on the Marvel Entertainment YouTube channel. So it's different strategy. Maybe they're trying to mitigate the haters, mitigate the noise. Maybe they think, if we make this big splash, then there'll be more haters in the other way that don't make the big splash with Marvel. I don't know. It's just kind of silly. I don't know when. Maybe that's why they think what they're thinking.
Yeah, it's going to be so annoying, because if it doesn't get renewed, we're always going to get that stupid comment section, which is going to be like, "Oh, is this going to be as bad as the Acolyte that got canceled after?" We're going to see that for an eternity now, because
they'll say we won. They'll say that we won. We destroyed the Acolyte.
Yeah. Oh my
don't
goodness.
Let the dark side win. It's just frustrating. Just do it. Give it to us. I don't know. Like, now I don't know when. Like, they're not going to
like you
already. Not going to do a fan expo Canada, but they should. It'll be amazing.
There you go.
They're like surprising.
There you go. What gets me is like. It's one thing if it's Book of Boba Fett. It's not continuing. They can fold those storylines into the other shows.
Yeah.
Lucasfilm finally did what I wanted them to do after a freaking decade of having a license under Disney.
Yeah.
Or whatever. And they're finally getting out of the Skywalker Saga timeline, only to have a show with 8 episodes of 30 minutes each, and that's it. Like all the resources you put into designing these new costumes, these new locales, this new ideology, all this intricacy of tying into the books and all, and it's going to end after a single season. That's a damn disappointment, and that sucks, because this is the one shining light that they had. And now what are they going to do? They're going to go back to being what's safe and give us another named original trilogy character show. They're going to go be safe for the rest of the existence. That's terrible future if that's the case.
Yeah. Again, I don't actually think it is. I'm still heavily leaning towards it's going to be renewed. It's just odd that they didn't. If it isn't, then just tell us. If it will be, then just tell us. I mean, when are they going to do it? Is the question now. Is it just in so kind of early stages figuring out the story, which I doubt that. If they figure out the story of season 1, if Leslie
Headland said she had 4 or 5 storylines planned out if it gets green lighted.
So yeah, I mean, but to say do we have to wait till Celebration for the announcement?
If we have to wait until Celebration, then the show's not probably going to come out until 2027, because that means they probably haven't even shot anything yet.
I keep pulling for this. It's never happened. I don't think it's ever happened. Correct me if I'm wrong. There's a convention in New York. New York's pretty big.
Oh yeah, that one.
If Leslie just pops out and says, "Hey," or I could definitely see a High Republic panel at New York Comic Con. That would make.
Oh, they've done it before.
Yeah.
They've had it in 2022.
Yeah. They didn't have it last year, right? But
No.
still, it's a pretty good chunk in the publishing one. You know, just why not do that? Have a High Republic panel, and then Leslie trots out, give us the celebration experience. That's
There you go.
possible, but it's probably going to be an article, probably going to be a tweet and a video. Who knows?
Yeah.
Anyway, they're good.
It's almost like well, obviously they're in like the talks or something, because why wait this long? Like it must be like on the verge of them doing it or not doing it, which is sad to hear or even feel, because if they knew it was getting a second season, why couldn't they just have it on the end of the damn last episode, to be continued?
Like I was wondering, the end card would have been great.
Yeah, I mean, I look at all these other series on these other networks, and half the time, like the first episode airs for that season, and they're like, "Oh, we're green lighted for season 2." After the first episode airing, Disney Plus never does that. It's always like, why do we always have to wait on bated breath for months and then find out unceremoniously months later that, oh, you know what, they just canceled it?
I do wonder if it's kind of two things. I mean, I think of guys, I got the prequels T-shirt from Force Center. Saying, withhold it so that all of us doing what we're doing right now is just keep generating the buzz, just clamoring for it more and more. Both to say to Lucasfilm, hey, we want this. Let's give it to us. But also so that we'll want it more. I mean, that's the thing about, you withhold. It's kind of cruel, but it is a business tactic.
When has that actually worked, though? Because unfortunately, people have been screaming from the rooftops for Solo 2. Make Solo 2 happen literally since the movie came out, the first one. And that's never happened. And we got that going on. Then there wasn't as many people wanting a Book of Boba Fett season 2, but it was the reason why I said it's like a little bit like Rangers of the New Republic. They're just going to fold stuff into other storylines. But, this is its own animal. This is like a brand new story that is a really cool story. And it's like, you tease us with things like Plagueis and things like Yoda, and it's like, oh my goodness, we're not going to actually see this.
I would venture more people want Acolyte. I mean, now that I'm saying it's obvious, right? More people want Acolyte 2 than Solo 2.
Yeah.
You go to a celebration, everyone there is going to want Acolyte 2. Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and I think that's actually, there's more lovers than haters out there, even in the wider.
What we gotta do is we gotta get people on mics interviewing Kathleen Kennedy, interviewing Carrie Beck, and whoever else is in command, and just straight up ask them on camera, like, where's Acolyte season 2? I want to see these responses. I want to see them try to backpedal off of that answer.
We know what they'd say. We know they'd say it's in development. We're having conversations. I'll see. They'll give us something, but not. Anyway, I do want to end on a more positive note of what we did see, what we did get. Again, mentioning, the very suburban skeleton trailer. These adorable, delightful little kids. I mean, it's kind of out of Guardians 3, how they go to this suburb. We've never seen the suburbs in Star Wars before, so I keep mentioning that because it's just so striking. I grew up in the suburbs.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think you're in a suburb. Just so striking to see that in Star Wars. It's so grounded and down to earth from what we know, what we're familiar with, at least those of us who, again, grew up in suburbs. Maybe to highlight the contrast, that it's more space wizardy, making up that word, than I was expecting. With Jude Law's character, we knew he was a Jedi. But they find a Jedi temple in the Mandoverse era. That idea, that's exciting me. That's getting me more interested. I was always kind of interested in this show, but now I'm definitely a lot more interested. If they're gonna go back, maybe there's some High Republic Acolyte connections. There you go. K2 and Krennic, I want to mention that a little bit. Of course, that makes sense. We knew they'd show up in Andor coming up. I do wonder, this is a comics podcast. Are we going to revisit the conversation about that one shot? And at this point, I'm okay if that gets retconned. It kind of gets sidestepped It was just a one shot.
Yeah.
I didn't mind it. I never minded that one shot. I don't know what you thought of it, but
It was rather convenient. Like, oh, let's just press this big red button, and then he's magically like subservient or like not gonna kill me. Like,
yeah. So yeah, maybe there's a more interesting story to there.
But I do want to go back to Skeleton Crew because as much as we talk about Acolyte, as much as we talk about Mando season 3, and some other like we'll say controversial shows for others, I think this is what's needed for the fandom to possibly kind of create bridges, because I said this over on the Star Wars Underworld podcast flagship on Thursday. What's nice about this is it's putting the focal point on the kids, which was what Lucas always did from the beginning, 12-year-olds. Going back to, we haven't had a big push for a kid type of character since the Phantom Menace in '99 with Jake Lloyd as Anakin Skywalker. So, I mean, looking at it from that perspective, I was
in live action at least. Yeah,
I was 10 when I seen Phantom Menace, or 9 years old actually when I seen the Phantom Menace. So I love the movie because I was like, that guy, he kind of looks like me, and he's going to be a Jedi someday, and he's got these really cool powers to fly around pod racers and spaceships. I want to be like that. So it's good to be a kid and have this person, and even the adults have a vessel to experience this story from that is well rooted in the 80s. I mean, Goonies, E.T., that is all my jam right there. I can't wait to see the vibes they got them right in that trailer. The closest thing we've gotten to suburban lifestyle has been the Andor scenes, which I've also really always loved. Those little things with Bix and all those guys on that planet there that I forget, the Ferrex.
Yeah, Ferrex.
That was so neat to see the down-to-earth style of Star Wars, and to get that again, not this ever-present, like omnipotent, like risk, and it's only the soldiers on the screen. No, we're going to get a look at what the kid's going through, seeing a hover school bus, seeing a repulsor lift school bus, seeing an Authorian walking around, seeing speeder bikes that the kids are customizing to have like streamers and stuff off the handlebars. Like, that's a really nice touch. But then you're also seeing things like you mentioned, like the Jedi Temple. You're seeing things like the X-Wings, these things that actually will pull us into the greater Mandoverse. So I'm very curious to see how that connects. But so far, and then the focal point of an alien character. The one knockoff point I'll give Andor is there was a severe lack of aliens in that show. Yeah. And I feel like every Star Wars show should have some kind of alien as its main character. I'll give it to Acolyte for having Kel Naka, for having Jeki Lam as a half Thelan, half human hybrid, and different things like that. It's like it really makes it feel more Star Warsy when you have the prosthetics and all this sort of thing. So yeah, I'm very curious about Neil. Is he actually the same species as Max Rebo, or is he his own thing? We're gonna find out soon enough. But yeah, I was very impressed. I got some really good vibes from that trailer.
Yeah, maybe that's why I can play Bad Batch and Skeleton Crew. These kids and Omega. I don't know.
Yeah.
But also, Trintigruda, Snips, it's 16. So we've seen it in animated. We haven't seen it as much in live action, like focus on kids like that. We could get a Temuri Blag spinoff, the Broom Boy spinoff there, maybe one day. Actually, that'll be interesting if he shows up in the Rey film. Just side thought. Yeah. Again, I think it's going to highlight the contrast of these kids stepping into this larger world. And yeah, they're going to do it through the New Republic and everything happening with the emerging resistance and the chaos of smugglers in the Outer Rim. But yeah, there's going to be some connection to the Force here. Now we see in the key.
Yeah, and what the heck is up with the main character name? I mean, really? Jawad. Who's going to be able to pronounce that? I can't even pronounce the guy's name. Like,
Ram Jamaran? Like Ram Jamaran? Is that it?
Well, that actually rolls off the tongue quite nice, but I don't know. I think they could have used another pass on this guy's name, but Jude Law looks great, and he seems like he's really good at representing the show on stage. But yeah, not super happy on the name, but it's a nitpick. Yeah, whatever. We'll get used to it.
Yeah. What else do you want to see?
Andor, like, great. I mean, how do you elevate the show even more? You bring back some of the best things from that show, from the movie, which was K2SO by Alan Tudyk, and Ben Mendelsohn as director, Orson Krennic. So, oh man, I can't freaking wait for that show. It's definitely my favorite Star Wars show by a good margin, I will say. And I cannot wait to rewatch it on the lead up to. I'm hoping this releases in time for Celebration. I feel like they are going to time this because Celebration loves having big viewings. I mean, the last 2 years we have Obi-Wan with Mando season 3, episode 7, with the Shadow Council with Thrawn and all those things mentioned. Like, that was a huge moment and the crowd went wild. So you got to imagine that Disney's probably going to hold back season 2 for maybe the premiere or at least one of the episodes to air while we're at Celebration, which will be a fantastic time.
They'll probably sort that out. Yeah, again, it makes sense, and similar to what we're saying with High Republic, it really will. Those K2 connecting Andor to the Rebellion probably in some way. Of course, Krennic, everything but the Death Star, just looming there. I mean, Krennic's such an interesting character as it is. Just to see him more because he's smart enough. He can handle this Death Star project enough, but he's just below. He's not quite, the Tarkin. He's a Tarkin wannabe, and that makes for a very dangerous character, a very intriguing character. The relationship with the Ursos. Maybe there's going to be something about that in there too. I don't know. Maybe not, but that question. I guess kind of I'm excited now. If I got to go back to Disney World, and try this new Smuggler's Run thing. I'm always wondering when they're gonna update things update the more fixed things. Now, of course, this is all it's easier to update that than say Rise of the Resistance. Rise of the Resistance, a Clone Wars story, that would be fun. That would take a whole makeover. This you can just upload it, install a new program or whatever, swap out the cartridge for the other. Who knows how they do it, but programming the lines of programming, installing whatever.
I have a big theory.
Okay.
I mentioned this on my podcast on Sunday night, Outer Rim Transmission. Me and Ben were talking about just the idea of like maybe they start doing like a soft rebranding of Bad 2. Yeah. Like, I mean, Mandalorian is so much more popular than the sequel trilogy ever was. So you could easily do it. Yeah, Rise of the Resistance, like you said, they can't physically do that. That's not going to happen. That'll stay there. But like, they could easily just have, instead of First Order troopers running around, just have Remnant troopers walking around. Instead of having Kylo Ren, have a Moff Gideon walking around. Have these Mandalorians, just random Mandalorians walking around. Like, that's the cool thing about they were smart to develop Batu as a place that would persist from as early as we know from the High Republic, 350 years behind the Phantom Menace, all the way to the sequel trilogy. It spans the test of time. So it really isn't hard for them to just slowly, I feel like that's what they're doing. They've already been testing the waters by having Book of Boba Fett, Fennec Shand, like all those characters running around, Mando with Grogu animatronics walking around. So now that they're going to change that to the Mandalorian and Grogu ride, I'm very curious to see if they're going to do that. Are they just going to sunset the current Hondo experience and maybe they'll replace his animatronic with somebody else or something, or he'll be there still? He could still be there, I guess, in the timeline, but like it just seems like, if I were Disney, I probably would pivot and start like focusing on bringing more elements to that park with Mandoverse.
Now that you mentioned it, I'm kind of surprised they haven't already. Because like why they didn't get in high gear? Because the reason it was set in that era is because it was opened when those films came out, and now we are getting a new film in that era 10 years later, but yeah, clearly, yeah, the Mandoverse is more popular. There's going to be a film in that era. There's going to be another show, multiple shows. I mean, 2 films, in
2
that era.
movies. Yeah.
2 movies, yeah. Um, put Thrawn in there. I guess the question is,
Yeah.
well, I guess with the makeup might be hard.
I think Sabine's in there. Ahsoka's in there.
Yeah, that's true. The question is, Disney's all about the imagination. It's all about the immersive.
Yeah.
The idea of setting it on a specific day in canon, whatever, that's fine. That doesn't have to be. But will it, for those of us who are more clued in, I don't know, my brain is going to be all, what are these? I would accept. My brain. I'll have to get used to it. I'll have to get over it. But I'll have to say, if I was there and I saw Mando, what's with the First Order thing? What's going on? Time travel? There's no time travel in Star Wars. What do I do? What happened? I get over it. It's fine, but it would break the kind of sense of this is a specific day in canon.
Okay.
And
True.
again, I'll have to say that's just not what this park is anymore. It's what it is literally a bunch of land in Anaheim, California, and Florida. So California and Florida, literally, that is what it is. So they can do what they want.
Or what could they do? Keep one land for the First Order stuff. The other land, you just do Mandoverse. Boom, you have the best of both worlds. If you want to go see First Order stuff, just go to Disneyland. Because Disney World is where they're going to push all their like big stuff anyway first. So they'll just do like the new stuff at Disney World.
Go to Disney World more. People would want to go to that one more. But
Mm-hmm.
that's a good question. What they do, because it would take a pretty significant makeover. Even that First Order ship, Kylo Ren's shuttle from the Trevorrow version,
Yeah.
and different things. I guess they probably have to change the dish on the Falcon.
Oh, I was thinking of this too with like story points with the Mandalorian and Grogu, having the Millennium Falcon there.
Yeah.
So does that mean that Mando must meet like Han Solo and maybe Leia at some point if he is there with the Falcon? I'm wondering how they're gonna put the bumpers in for that story point of like, okay, well, what's happening here? Is this something? This is going to be around the time of the movie coming out. Is this going to be a literal battle like we might see like in the movie? Like, oh, there's the Millennium Falcon in the background. Guess what? When you actually do the ride, it's like you on that part right there in this big battle. I don't know.
Maybe, I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. I mean, the rebuilding the galaxy. Zeb, that's a big one. Again, he was only for a second. The CG only handled for a second on the big screen. See how long? I mean, in Mando, talking to Papa Toronto back here. But yeah, will he be there for a lot, or will he be as long as he was in Mandalorian? I don't know.
I like the idea that this movie really just takes place directly after season 3.
Yeah.
Like you see in the background when Favreau and Filoni are on stage on D23, they have the Adelphi like base camp. If you look closely enough, those are the Y wings. That's the same setting of the planet that he leaves off on to go talk to Carson Teffa about joining the New Republic. So it's nice seeing like, okay, we are literally picking up the pieces, because I wasn't really sure what this movie was about. Is it an origin story for Grogu? I mean, it could still have flashbacks in it, of course, but I mean, from the stuff that I might have seen from somebody's camera at some point, it looks like it's certainly in present time. So
yeah, it does. But well, I mean, we got his origin in the Keller and Beck scene.
True. Yeah.
Effectively. So.
Mm-hmm.
The origin of any Jedi in the Dark Times and after is Order 66, right? So, although he's little, so yeah, but yeah, maybe we get more picking up more of him, but yeah, to see, that's a good point. Is that it is going to, if it does connect to the rebellion more, or the New Republic more, that's the question of. Even with Leia, how Leia gets a mention in Ahsoka, right, through 3PO. They are building them in. They are building her in. Now, obviously, that's more likely to see the big three in the Art of the Empire, especially with Ahsoka having such an important role. Ahsoka being a Skywalker herself, effectively. So you can see that. Yeah, I'm more interested in a Mandalorian story, Mandalorian Grogu story that is more about taking the New Republic more seriously as the thing that can confront this Imperial remnant. As opposed, and the Mandalorians, of course, but as opposed to where he starts off with the New Republic as a joke. I want almost to say, I want someone in like Mon Mothma or something like, "Are we a joke to you?" Something like that.
There you go.
There you go. Don't hire me for a script writer. I'm not qualified. I'm not part of the union. But if you put that joke in, I'll be very happy. Nobody's listening.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and then so we've talked about all that. One last thing with rebuilding the galaxy. Again, that's kind of getting my. I'm saying this to get over it. I'm saying this to get over myself. It's getting my. This is too much like Marvel thing. It's Star Wars kind of plays with the sandbox.
Are you talking about Lego?
Yeah, something with the.
Okay.
So the way they'll do it, I think the way they'll do it is pretty going to be fun and compelling. And the Lego is the place to do it. Really is.
I mean, we know it's not canon; it's Lego. So let them have fun with it. That's my take on it.
Like they already did time travel in this, right, with the Rey thing. Darth Nubs.
I didn't even catch that. Apparently, Darth Nubs and Darth Rose.
Darth Rose. So Darth Rose I can buy. That's what I want to see. But Darth Nubs will be interesting. And Deadbeat Luke.
By the way, this is the release date of season 2 of the Young Jedi Adventures. So for those of you that like watching the show, then there's like 10 or 12 new episodes. I think the first half is out now, and then I believe this is the first beginning of 2025. We're gonna get the other half of season 2. So
very much Jedi Nubs.
Yes.
Yeah. That's about all I've got for this D23 announcements. Do you have anything more to add with that?
I will just say they pulled it off. Mm-hmm. I think Disney did a great job of actually having a good Star Wars presence there, because in years prior, we'd be waiting on bated breath going, ooh, what are they going to announce? And then it's like nothing special. And we're just, oh, that was it. Okay. Yeah. And it begs it really needed to be big because there was no celebration this year. Star Wars did not have any movie or TV presence at San Diego Comic-Con. But like you said, I am really holding out hope for New York Comic-Con. I think there's a big potential for them to bring Skeleton Crew there and show us a premiere episode, bring the cast, bring the full cast, because the kids weren't at D23. Let them come down, get the full Comic-Con experience. That in New York, that the strike is over. COVID is, for the most part, under control. Well, I didn't come out unscathed from Comic-Con, but I'm perfectly fine now. But it's controllable, so you can have bigger presences like that there again. Because the last couple of years, they've had to go relatively smaller scale because of all those various reasons. But I feel like this is the year to do it. This is the year to do it. Get those guys, get Lucasfilm out there. They had Rebels as a presence there for multiple years in a row. Let's just bring them down, get them in Empire Room, which is the 5,000 seat room, and show us the episode. There you go. The big boom. Start the promotion there. It'll have been about a month out by the time Comic-Con comes. So
I mean, I'll expect Agatha all along. Probably gonna have a huge presence there. That'll be right in the thick of that, just about ending there. So I mean, and Star Trek always does a great job.
Oh there. Paramount always comes out big with their stuff.
They showed a strange Lower Decks episode.
Yep.
At New York. So I mean, that's the thing. I've only been there once, but I don't think of it as the big TV announcements or screen announcements, but why not?
Oh, it is.
It is. Okay.
You should have seen 2019. They had Doctor Who. They had Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. They had Daredevil. They had Into the Spider-Verse. They showed us 30 minutes back when we had to actually go walk ourselves all the way to the other side of New York City to go to the Madison Square Garden Theater that held 5,000 people. They showed us Westworld. They showed us They showed us a Teen Titans movie on the show that was on that WB short-lived streaming service. Like they pull out the big guns, and I want to see them get back there again because they have not gotten back there since.
Do they? So, what I mean is, do they like make big announcements there?
Well, what do you mean by big announcements? Because like they'll show episodes and stuff, but like
San Diego level, like Celebration level.
For TV shows, I would say yeah.
Oh yeah. All right.
Yeah, they are the hub for the TV. Like I always look at like San Diego's more the films because the MCU and all that, but like New York, especially lately, has been known for TV. Now a lot of companies like are still stuck doing their own darn thing, which sucks. Such as Netflix. They keep having these geek weeks. I'm like, guys, just come back to New York Comic Con. You know, you guys did a great job. Like bring Witcher, bring Wednesday, bring all your top tier shows in New York and get people excited for them already. Like this YouTube stuff is a thing of the past. Like people are back at conventions again. Let's go. But they're, everything's with money now. So we could just spend no money and just put it on YouTube. It's like, well, what's the fun? There's no fan integration. Yeah. It's a corporate entity that's just putting stuff out. And
it doesn't make as much buzz, right?
Exactly.
Like people go there and then they come back. That's the theory, right? They go and they come back. I get that's why Star Wars doesn't put everything on YouTube, even though they probably should anyways. We see the crowd on YouTube. Yeah. We see the crowd on YouTube having so much fun. I saw the crowd, Chicago 2019. I saw the crowd. I listened to the Underworld podcast. I heard my now buddy Din, or just whatever year that was, 2018?
2019. I was there. That was my first celebration. It was amazing.
Song for the first time, and then I met him literally a month later. I heard the buzz, and then guess what? It was like, okay, I'm going to go to Anaheim 2022. But then, I saw London. I mean, I didn't really see much crowds in London, but guess what? I'm going to Japan 2025. I hear about this New York Comic Con thing. I hear about it. I was like, okay, might as well go. Why don't I go? I should go. It seems like a big deal. And then I want to go again. Right. So I think I'm wondering if I've lucked out on picking the con to go to this year, go away to, and I fell in love with the city too. So yeah, maybe I've lucked out. At the very least, Tractor Beam is going to have a lot to say at New York Comic Con, guaranteed.
Oh yeah. The comics. I mean, we're going back to comics now. For everybody, this is a comic podcast and all, but I think we're going to get our announcement of the ongoing. You're going to get your wish, Matthew. You're going to get your wish of being in the room when they announce whatever's coming up next for ongoing, because I don't consider the Battle of Jakku an ongoing. It is not an ongoing. It's just 3 spliced together miniseries. Not saying that like dismissively or anything. I'm just saying like this is not the ongoing. This is like a temporary thing that's going to hold us over until they're ready to show us what's actually going to be the long form 50, 75 issue run of whatever comes next. So that's going to be exciting. That's going to be an exciting panel. Let's just hope it's in a bigger room next time. Screw it. Put it on the Empire stage. Put it on the Empire stage. You guys took over the Ballroom 20, which is the same size. Put it in all.
Either that or the nice plushy North building.
Yeah.
Lastly, speaking of cons, I'll just put this up here. Speaking of cons, there's another substantial one coming in a week and a half. No, yeah, a week and a half. A week and a day. Time flying. Wow. Connection Canada, my hometown con. I mentioned this off the top. I'll be there Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday.
Wow.
Thursday I have to leave a little early. Thanks to the folks for the second year in a row, I'll be having a press pass. So that's very nice of them.
Awesome. That's amazing.
Yeah. And so just again, it is the third. It is perpetually in third place to New York and San Diego, but it's solidly in third place. It is substantial, like you mentioned.
What about C2? C2E2?
I think Pan Expo was bigger.
Okay.
And
That's
I think
happening this weekend. I know our buddy Daniel is going there.
Nice. Yeah, I mean C2 is a big deal too, but like everybody's going to Fan Expo this year. Thankfully, finally. Bryce Dallas Howard. My goodness, why am I blanking on who's going? Like the big Star Wars actors. Big Star Wars actors. I'm gonna look this up. I gotta look this up.
I can tell you, Victor Lucas and Rod Ferguson from the video game industry are going to be there. I can tell you that right now. I've already said it once.
Rosario Dawson is right on the top there.
Oh,
Tamura freaking Morrison. Okay,
he's already coming from freaking New Zealand. That's crazy.
Josh Gad, Morena Baccarin from Deadpool and Firefly, Alan Tudyk, Cam Monaghan, Giancarlo Esposito, Ken Lashley, who's done some variants, Mark Guggenheim, Rodney Barnes, Ashley Eckstein, and D. Bradley Baker. So,
goodness.
Emily Swallow. Hopefully, Emily does karaoke again.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, this is actually shaping up to be huge. Jonathan Frakes couldn't make it. Who was another? Jonas Sotomo was going to make. He couldn't make it. But, yeah. And this close, they seem pretty confirmed. So this is probably in my recent memory. I can't remember this many major Star Wars actors coming to this. So it's a big draw, including Cam Monaghan, including Mark Guggenheim has written loads of comics. Rodney Barnes is writing Inquisitors right now. So they're Felicia Day. I'm just looking at this website here. So it's exciting. It's going to be fun. So I'll be there. If you're at Fan Expo Canada, come and say hi. I might do some recaps. Definitely going to try and do some interviews. And maybe next week I'll maybe say a little more what I have lined up when I got my act together. But definitely done. They're doing a great job. Again, cons are back, especially after the strike, right? Last year, you had the Star Trek actors who couldn't say much because of the strike, and then in New York they couldn't say much because of the strike. But this year, everything's full blown. Not as much Star Trek this year, but more time for Star Wars then, more time for Marvel then. So, I'll be there. So check it out. I will. Check out Ion Cannon Instagram and Twitter for all the coverage as well. I'll try and record some videos. We'll see what happens there. At least some audio for that. But that's Thursday. And then, by the way, there are comics next week, and I'm free. I'm able to do it. Get to this ongoing number 49 of 50. Charles, what are you going to do to us, Charles? And another Daniel Jose Older double Emmy, High Republic Adventures number 9. What are you looking forward to in this one? In these ones? I think you're muted. I got it. No, you got to mute yourself.
I am looking forward to the reintroduction of the Commander Zara. I thought that was such a cool reveal at the end. Again, just like Vader, it's pulling things in. As she was in the beginning of the run, I want to say an issue like one of the very first issues of the run. So we're bringing things into the end. She's given me vibes of that character Agent Terex from Charles Soule's run, surprisingly, of Poe Dameron, like that straight Imperial. That turns into this person that's using the Underworld at their beck and call.
And a cyborg too, right? She's become a cyborg a little bit, has she?
She's got, I think, we thought she died, but I guess she might have lost a limb and survived, apparently. But
she's also got some cyborg thing going on, right?
Yeah, he had some weird stuff going with, was it Captain Phasma? It was another super soldier for the First Order female. But I'm really excited for that. High Republic Adventures, man, we're going back to back to back with High Republic stories every week here, which is great to see. Yeah. So, I mean, seeing them, didn't we just get the High Republic Adventures last week?
Yeah, I think maybe.
So we're getting 2 in the same month. That's very odd.
I mean, we got
we read it.
Kind of.
Yeah, and then I got the insider story, which was really crazy, by the way. That was a good story.
Yeah.
So I'm just taking too long with this answer, but no, I'm excited for both of them, especially with Star Wars.
Yeah. Yeah. Insider forgot to mention that if I get my shoe in, is all what it is. Yeah, and then I'll maybe talk about more about Fan Expo then. But yeah, definitely Zara as this great nemesis to Leia, and she's going for the jugular. She's going for her people, and using the Alderanians as bait. I'm really glad I took the time to read the 2015 run because that really sets things up. Just as a reminder. And so I did on Tractor Beam 2 weeks ago when I went solo. Check that out. I revisited that. Yeah, it's going to be spectacular. I mean, then I brought up Edge of Balance because with number 9, the implications of Ariadu being behind the storm wall and what does this crew do? The implications of just the relationship between Lula and Zine and how that's gotten solidified matrimonially. And yeah, what Crix, how that affects Crix. He's gonna be jelly. He's gonna be. Is he still villainous? I mean, he kind of showed that he was undercover, but we'll see. We'll see how that plays out in terms of just allegiances more widely. And so, yeah, I think that one's kind of coming sort of to an end too, right? I think. So I'll have to check that out. But either way, it's well on its way. And so, yeah, hurling towards an end, but yeah, ongoing. I mean, the thing I constantly say, and this is kind of going back to the beginning of this episode tonight, Vader 49 really earned its bacon as and this arc has really earned its time preparing for Return of the Jedi. This is what I said on when I went solo a few weeks ago. I think this ongoing arc might be either prepping Leia for what she's up to in Return of the Jedi a little bit, just in terms of her character. I don't know. I wonder if there's a role of the Alderanians in the New Republic. I wonder if that is something. I could be entirely wrong, completely wrong about that. But this, it's always fascinating. This kind of forgotten aspect of her, because she's always like princess, queen, which is like general and rebel leader. She's a princess of something. She's a queen of a people. She has a people. Everyone's from somewhere. And so for that to be threatened by Zara, really looking forward to. Now it's going to be hard for her, but I'm looking forward to the story. So yeah, that's great. All right. I think we can wrap this up with the plugs. Another great show. We're going longer these days. That's fine. We're gelling. Next week, I gotta say, next week is our 50th episode in this format, and my 100th of all formats across for Tractor Beam. So,
wow, man! I mean, not everybody can make it to 100 episodes, so bravo, because it's hard to stick with something for long term like that.
You got me under the gun. You got me like, let's do this. But yeah, no, it's been good. It's been good to. This is starting. No, all love and respect to Iron Canada.
Man, I hear it coming.
No, because I think I just do more prep work for Tractor because it's just I have a sense of what it is.
Oh, okay.
But I enjoy both equally. But yeah, it's been fun.
Oh man, I thought you were about to choose your favorite child for a moment there or something.
No, I'm not gonna do that. I'll say there's one child that's more in my image. I guess they kind of both are. Don't worry about this. Speaking of Iron Cannon, 5:30 p.m. Eastern, Pacific, 8:30 p.m. Eastern, right on this channel. Check that out on Monday night. Again, I believe Joel talking about. I forget what he's talking again. I forgot to ask him, but we're talking about. I believe Tales of the Jedi. Chatting about that. Something else.
The comics, right? Not the show.
Yeah, the comic books, Tales of the Jedi. And then so check that out.
Nice.
The flagship tomorrow night, Thursday, 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific, right here on the Underworld YouTube channel called the Star Wars Underworld Podcast. There, and then of course on the socials at Iron Cannon Pod, EYEONCANON POD, and at the SW. Chris, I kind of jumped the gun on my plugs. Where can they find you on the internet?
Yeah, you can find me over on Twitter, twitter.com/StarRaptor. Oh, I would say Twitter. I guess you can't even type that in.
I say Twitter.
It auto corrects now to x.com. So whatever. Just find me whatever way you want to do it at StarRaptor. You'll find me there. Talking about skateboarding, video games, movies, just random stuff, but a lot of pop culture in general. And yeah, you can find all of my videos as I was ranting off the top. I have a review for the aforementioned Insider Issue 227 short story, The Chronicles of Corellia, Heir Apparent by Crix Camerat. I also have a shorter little review for the books we talked about, hitting that as soon as tomorrow, as well as a review for The Edge of Balance Volume 2. And as you mentioned before, I still have, and it will always be there. Hopefully YouTube doesn't ever delete on my end. But yeah, you can check out my vlogs and stuff that I have from San Diego and California and everything else in between. So yeah, you can find on YouTube also at StarRaptor. Make sure you spell it with an E, not an O, or else you'll get all the Pokemon videos, unfortunately.
Yeah. There you go. Yeah, and again, follow at Iron Cannabot. That's Twitter, Instagram, and Threads. I think I've been using Threads a little more there. Personals, MNEG1138, Instagram and Threads, at beaches.foodie, FOODIE, on Instagram, and Twitter, NEUG45. Probably a bunch of soccer. The Olympics are over, so I'm not salty about that anymore. But yeah, and then so everything Star Wars is going to be on Iron Cannon. Anything else, Star Trek, Marvel, etc., will be on MNEG 1138. Yeah, probably in the stories, and then probably my con food will probably be at Beaches Foodie, because that's what I do there on the internet, throwing some delicious food up there. But yeah, until then, so of course for Fan Expo Canada, but until then, check out these books. You can get them on digital, but support local, support the brick and mortar. Ongoing 49, High Republic Adventures 9, and Insider 227. Forgot to mention that, but yes, Insider 227. Hopefully, mine comes in. We can review it then. Chris, it's been fun. Until next week, happy reading.